Have you ever cried during a film? Yes, of course I have. Yeah. It's a very sensitive side that you're bringing out. Jason Statham is one of Hollywood's toughest stars. He is the man who does his own stunts, dives into real fights, and makes every moment look effortless. From the punches he throws to the cars he drives and the explosions he walks through, everything he does is real. Because he believes in earning every second on screen, but while the world sees an unbreakable action hero, few know the real struggles he has faced. Behind the scenes, from heartbreak to near-death experiences, Jason Statham's real life is darker and far more human than the movies ever showed. But how could a man who achieved so much in Hollywood end up living such a tough life behind the scenes? To understand this, let's go back to the beginning, where it all began. Born on July 26, 1967 in Shirebrook, Derbyshire, Jason grew up in a working-class family. His mother, Eileen, was a dancer while his father, Barry, took any job he could find. Money was tight and opportunities were scarce, so from the start, Jason learned one thing: if you want something, you fight for it, and that's what he did. When he was 12, Jason discovered diving at the Crystal Palace Sports Center, and it quickly became his entire world. He trained every day, early mornings, late nights, no excuses. For more than a decade, he dreamed of one thing: representing Britain at the Olympics. Then came 1992, the year that changed everything. Jason missed a spot on the British Olympic team by just one position, one single spot. It was heartbreaking. Years of dedication, and in silence as he stood by the pool, staring into the water, watching his dream sink quietly beneath the surface. But Jason didn't cry, he didn't quit. He just stood there still, steady, learning one of the hardest lessons life could teach. That failure taught him something that would define the rest of his journey. Real strength doesn't come from winning, it comes from standing up after every fall. And so, with nothing but determination, he began the next chapter of his life, the hustler years. When his diving career ended, Jason had to start over, so he did what he had to do. He hustled on the streets of London. He sold cheap perfume and fake watches, calling out to strangers who barely noticed him. He was broke, hungry, and freezing, but he kept going. During the day he worked, at night he trained push-ups, shadow boxing, staying sharp, because he knew he wasn't done yet. But then, all of a sudden, one single encounter changed everything. While working small modeling gigs, Jason caught the eye of British filmmaker Guy Ritchie. That single meeting changed everything. There was something raw and real about Jason, something that couldn't be faked. Ritchie took a chance and cast him in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. That single role changed everything. People loved Jason's sharp humor and authenticity. He wasn't pretending to be a tough guy, he was the tough guy. Then came Snatch, The Transporter, and Crank, films that made him an international star. Jason became the action hero everyone talked about. He did his own stunts, took real hits, and pushed himself past his limits. If I get hurt, he once said, at least it's real. Torn muscles, bruised ribs, sleepless nights, it was all part of who he was. Fans loved him. Hollywood gave him everything. He had gone from selling watches on the street to standing on top of the world. But behind every cheer and every photo, the truth was quietly setting in. The man who looked unbreakable on screen was starting to feel broken inside. The cost of fame behind the fame and action movies was a man who felt more alone than ever. In the late 1990s, when Jason was still an up-and-coming actor, he met Kelly Brook. She was a rising model and TV star, and together they became one of Britain's most talked about couples. From 1997 to 2004, Kelly stood by him through the early days of his fame, but when his Hollywood career began to take off, the distance between them grew. Jason was constantly flying between London and Los Angeles, filming one movie after another. Kelly eventually left. Jason didn't chase her, he just said quietly, "The pain of being replaced while still loyal is a heartbreak you don't forget." Then in 2005, Jason met Sophie Monk, an Australian singer and actress. She made him laugh again, and for a short time, she brought light back into his life. But between movie shoots and long flights, their connection faded. They cared for each other, but life kept pulling them apart, and in 2006 the relationship ended. Jason tried to stabilize his life again a year later. In 2006, he began dating Alex Zisman, woman far from the Hollywood spotlight. She was calm, grounded, and made him feel human again. For nearly 3 years, from 2006 to 2009, Jason found peace. Her presence, but this relationship also met the same fate, worn down by his hectic schedule and constant time away from home. When that relationship ended, he didn't shout or blame anyone, he just said everyone wanted the actor, but no one saw the man. Fame had given him everything except connection, and that loneliness, it stayed with him. After that, he poured his heart into his films. Every fight scene, every stunt became his way of letting the pain out, because behind the quiet strength was a man carrying years of heartbreak, the ghosts of the past. Then came the moments that broke him for real. In 2011, on the set of The Expendables 2, a stunt went wrong. There was an explosion, chaos, and a 26-year-old stuntman named Kunlo died. Jason stood there watching helplessly. "You think you're invincible," he said later, "till you see someone die doing what you love." He never talked about it again, but before every movie now, he pauses for a moment, a silent tribute to those who never made it home. 2 years later, fate tested him again during a stunt rehearsal for The Expendables 3. Jason's truck suddenly malfunctioned. The stunt was simple: drive of a truck hit the brakes. Stop, but the brakes failed. The truck went straight off the pier and into the Black Sea. Water rushed in, and in seconds, Jason was sinking. He tried to open the door, but it was jammed. Water filled the cabin. He thought of Rosie, of home, of everything he still had to do. Then something inside him took over. He slammed his shoulder into the door over and over until it broke. He kicked his way out, fought the current, and somehow made it to the surface. When he came up, gasping for air, Stallone ran toward him. If anyone else had been driving, Stallone said later, they'd be dead. Jason survived, but something inside him changed forever. That night, he sat alone, whispering, it should have been over. After the accident, he wasn't the same. He became quieter, more withdrawn. The laughter on set faded, replaced by a look that seemed distant and heavy. That near-death experience didn't just change his career, it changed his soul. The internal battles, years of stunts, took a heavy toll on Jason's body. His back hurt, his joints ached. Some days even walking was painful. "I used to fight bad guys," he said. "Now I fight my own body." But he never complained. He kept training. Boxing, swimming, yoga, anything to stay moving. "If I stop," he joked, "I'll rust." Behind the jokes was the truth. He Was scared not of pain, but of stillness, because when he stopped moving, he had to face his thoughts, the losses, the loneliness, the ghosts of his past. Then he met Rosie Huntington. Whitley, she brought calm into his life. With her, he found peace he'd never known. Their 2 children, Jack and Isabella, became his reason to breathe. This, he told her once, is the only fight I never want to win, but even with peace, there were nights when he sat by the window, watching his family sleep, whispering, "You'll make it right next time." After all the chaos and pain, it seems Jason Statham finally learned that the hardest battle wasn't against anyone else, it was the one within himself. Today at 58, Jason Statham stands as one of Hollywood's biggest action legends, but his story behind all the fame is one of survival, pain, and lessons that cost him everything. He's proof that struggle can build strength, and that even the toughest man can feel broken sometimes, from selling watches on the street to starring in billion-dollar films. He's fought every step of the way. So what do you think? Is Jason Statham's real story more powerful than any role he's ever played? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video, ensure you give it a thumbs up. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because we will be uploading more crazy stories like this one in the coming weeks. Until then, see you.